We should be streaming. Coming at you from the 37th parallel on America's haunted highway, it's Pixelated Paranormal, your guide to the unusual and the strange.
What's up, YouTube? Happy New Year, and welcome everybody to episode 262 of Pixelated Paranormal. I, of course, am Sean, and with me as always is Presto the Magnificent. How are you, buddy?
What's up, all you cool ghosts and goblins, you crococoons and crocodingos, you skeletors and skeleettes and witchers and witches, and, you know, the list fucking just grows and goes on. I'm doing pretty good.
Hell yeah, man. Well, this, of course, is our first episode of 2023. We are doing another Q&A. It's been a couple years since we've done one of these. And again, we asked and you guys delivered. Oh boy, did you deliver. We got all sorts of good stuff. And a real wide range, man. Personal questions, paranormal questions, and everything in between. Now, there are so many... Yeah. There's so many questions, in fact, that on this episode, we couldn't do the heavy lifting alone. So we brought a very special guest to help us out. Why don't you reveal yourself? 3, 2, 1.
What's up?
Ooh,
Big Daddy
baby,
himself.
It's Rob. Man, Papa Paranormal, the OG, busted out of retirement. Rob, how have you been, man?
Oh man, it's been a ride. Got married, moved, dealing with a lot of personal drama right now. Mom's going downhill with some dementia stuff and health reasons, but life goes on. So we do what we got to do.
Yep, that's it, man. Well, we're cheering you on, buddy, and we love you and Deb and everybody, and you're doing a great job. We'll leave it at that. Well, buddy, I'm glad you reached out. It's so awesome to have you on. You kind of came in the 11th hour yesterday or this morning. Was it this morning when you reached out?
Last night, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Well, it's awesome. I've been giddy all day.
Yeah.
I'm super excited to get the band back together, so to speak.
Sean
and
texted me
I'm thrilled.
late last night, was like, well, so question, how hard would it be for Rob to join us tomorrow night? And I'm like, does he have Discord? Yeah. Does he got a webcam? Yeah. Well, then, I guess it's as easy as Hurt Me Plenty on Doom, because, he's got everything he needs. And I was excited since.
Now, isn't Hurt Me Plenty the hard difficulty?
Oh, no, I'm too young to die. Yeah, that's the easy mode. I am too young to die.
You idiot.
I know.
Yep. Some things never change. We're both still morons.
I'm more of a bullet point guy.
There
you go. Well, we got a lot of fun questions to ask and answer, and I'm thrilled just to hear, Rob, what your answers will be, buddy. But you guys want to do this like in a certain order? Should I just call it out and ask each of you at a time, or what sounds good?
Just roll with it,
We can do that.
I'd say start at the top and work our way down, and then maybe let Rob go first, and then change the order up for the next question.
Okay, a little round robin action. I got it. We can do that.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Rob action.
Right. You're right. I see what you did there. First, real quick, Preston, I like what you did with the video on
You like that?
YouTube. That's pretty fun. That's fancy, buddy.
Yeah.
Man, look
Like
at you go.
every show, I learn more and more OBS tricks, and we just keep on upgrading.
Yep, yep.
Uh,
Hey, the Krampus is watching. What's up, buddy? And as you guys are watching this, feel free to comment some questions, and we'll keep checking the chat throughout the stream to answer any questions that come up. But first one's going to be an easy, guys. It's just going to be a icebreaker. Rob, what's the last movie you watched, buddy?
Oh man, we don't watch a lot of movies around this house. Honestly, I think the last movie we watched, me and my wife watched Christmas Story Christmas. I think that was the last thing that we watched. And that was a rather enjoyable movie. It brought back some good feelings and some sadness. And, as someone who's
Yeah.
lost their dad, and Preston knows this as well, if he's watched that now, how that kind of movie can really touch you. Christmas is over. So if you miss it this year, you don't feel like watching a Christmas movie, then you can always watch it next year.
Yep.
But
Yeah,
and
it's a
honestly,
solid movie.
we watched a few Christmas movies this year, but we watched Christmas Vacation again too. So we just kind of had a Christmas movie day on actual Christmas Day, where Bobby's family was kind of snowed in with us for several hours until I got brave enough to drive the car out.
Yeah, you guys kind of got hit like we did here in Kansas. You guys got a fairly decent storm too, right?
Yeah, it was like it wasn't too bad, but it was just enough to make the hill outside our house, because I live in a rural subdivision, and so like the hill was just too icy for his bald tires to get up because he brought the wrong vehicle. But
Ah,
and so
damn.
I ended up getting out with my Jeep, and was able to get everybody home, but it took me several hours because of bad roads, and it was an hour and 15-minute ride on a normal day to get them hit her mom and uncle home. So it was
Damn.
it was kind of an interesting Christmas.
Right. The good and the bad. Yeah. Well, Presto, what about you, buddy? What's the last film you watched?
well, first, the Krampus says, Global Stranger says, "What's up?" So,
Ooh, yeah.
yeah.
Hell yeah. Give a little
Um,
shout out to Deborah, Scott, and Jeremy.
So, man, my Voodoo is where I watch the majority of my movies. So I just, either whether it's on my phone or the TV upstairs. I have like 590 movies now on Voodoo, not including like the collection. So some of them have like 4 or 5 movies in it, and majority of them are movies I grew up watching with Dad. So yesterday, in fact, right before I went to bed, I decided to watch 48 Hours with Nick Nolte and Eddie Murphy. So that was the last movie that I watched.
Shit, yeah, man. I bet it's cool to be able to share those movies with Blake and Addie as you guys are kind of going through the same kind of motions, huh?
Oh yeah, because the Blake likes all the Clint Eastwood movies that I grew up with watching with Dad, and likes Beverly Hill Cops, and likes Lethal Weapon. So I mean, last weekend I had the kids, like we just sat around and watched Lethal Weapon, and which are good Christmas movies. So, and Die Hard, I will fucking fight anybody who says that Die Hard is not a Christmas movie. So put them up.
Fair, very fair. Well, I just finished watching a movie yesterday called Moonwalkers from 2015, and it stars Ron Perlman, taking place in 1969, and he plays a CIA agent who's trying to track down Stanley Kubrick to help them fake the Apollo 11 moon landing because they're not sure if they're going to successfully land on the moon. And so he goes to England, and somehow, I won't ruin it, but he gets intercepted by Rupert Grint, right? Ron Weasley, Harry Potter. And then also Robert Sheehan, that's Klaus from the Umbrella Academy. And they get in the middle of everything, causing all sorts of chaos. And it's one of my favorite conspiracy theory movies of all time. I loved every second of it. It's gory, it's silly, it's topical. And I suggest if you have Prime, go on there and watch it right now. It's a fantastic watch. Well, up next, Cody asks, Since you boys are paranormally aligned, and things that scare other people may not scare you guys, what's the scariest thing that you've ever experienced in your life? Presto. Take it away, buddy.
Mm. I mean, now I'm kind of used to it. So, um, sleep paralysis, anything like that when I was younger used to scare the shit out of me. And the first couple times I went on a paranormal investigation and like felt like I got touched or heard something move in the other room, like the heart got a
Mm-hmm.
thumping. But I really feel like the years that I've been doing it and experiencing it over and over and over again, I really become desensitized to all that. So really, for me to be nervous in the paranormal world now, like I'm gonna have to be abducted by aliens, or Bigfoot's gonna have to like body slam my truck and dent it in and be like, oh holy shit, I just shit myself. But other than that, man, I can't really think of anything that really has me quaking in my boots.
Yeah. Rob, what about you, man? What's the scariest thing you can think of?
Oh man, so talking about the sleep paralysis thing reminded me of a story that I had happened to me. Was I was sleeping one night and I woke up with something on my chest, like it was just like on my chest. I could feel it, and it was taking a large knife, and it reminded me of the Tonberries from Final Fantasy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it drug the knife down the center of my chest, and then it kind of when it seen me wake up, it kind of jumped off the bed and walked like stepped backwards towards our closet, my closet. I was living alone at the time, and the best way I can describe it is to think of it like in the background was a green screen, and you had like something superimposed over it, but it was almost like it reached down and zipped up like a tent flap around itself, like it just zipped up reality around itself.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I woke up thinking, oh, that's weird. And then I looked down at my chest and I had a cut right down the center of my chest, like a pretty deep cut that was bleeding. And
Wow.
I don't have fingernails. I have fingernails now, but back then I definitely didn't have fingernails. I chewed all my fingernails down to the nubs, and so yeah, that was really a freaky situation. So
Yeah. God, I remember you telling me that story back on the old pre-pixelated paranormal days back on Xbox, and it still, man, just gives me chills. You told it again on an episode of the show, and it just doesn't get any easier to listen to. It's just so fucking weird.
It reminds me of the one that you
like,
told us when you got up in the middle of the night and had to go take a leak, and you were like in the bathroom with your Johnson hanging out, and you felt like somebody was watching you. And you said like you turned around, there was like a fucking goblin or something like up against the wall, and then it like unzipped reality and like went through and then zipped itself back up, and you're like, all right, I guess it's time to shake my dick off and go back to bed.
Yeah, must be time to hit the old dusty trail.
did that happen to you, Sean?
Yeah, that's a story I'll share again another time because there's a lot more to it, and it may deserve an episode all itself.
So
Once
basically, you both may have ran into goblins that did the same thing. That's even creepier to think about.
Yeah.
it is weird because this would have predated either of you guys. Well, it didn't predate Preston because back then he was kind of like my mentor at the time, so we had just barely become voices over telephones. But man, I gotta jump on and say the old sleep paralysis as well because that's freaky shit when you're laying there just frozen, unable to respond to anything going on. And I think there was a time in our old rental house before we moved to Wichita, and I remember Shayla had just left for like a work trip, and so she left pretty early in the morning, and it was just me and our cat Samson, and I had woke up because I heard what I thought was somebody unlocking and coming in the front door, shutting the door, and then locking the deadbolt. And then I kind of rolled over with my back to our bedroom door, and then again froze. And then I heard footsteps across the floor, and I heard the bedroom door open and shut, and then heard something walking around, the perimeter of the bed, and then Of course, you're frozen. I'm frozen laying there on my side, pointing my face at the wall. And I finally, out of my periphery, see like this fuzzy, like shadowy TV static figure walk up in front of the bed. And I don't know where it's at now. It's probably in our bedroom, but historically, I've had a sword in the bedroom that I got at a flea market. And I remember this thing like bent down and picked up the sword and pulled it like halfway. It's just like a little like wooden staff that has a sword inside of it. Pulled the sword out, kind of looked at the blade, looked at me, looked back, and put it back in the sheath. Laid it back where it was, and then it slowly walks all the way around back behind me. And the whole time I'm just thinking like, holy shit, holy shit, holy shit, this is where I die. I'm gonna die. This is it. And then I feel the weight of something lay behind me in Shayla's place, and it puts its arm around me, and then I passed out.
It wanted to spoon.
Good old. yeah. You know, shadow people need love too. That, I mean, yeah, sleep paralysis has to be a number one for sure. Well, Isaac has a curveball here for us, guys. Who is better in bed, Sean, Preston, or Rob?
I wasn't included in this, so we're so
Yeah, you were.
out of this
I added you.
I don't see it here.
Well,
yeah, I added that. Ad lib, folks.
I'll go out on a limb here, Isaac, and say if it involves you, Rob and I seem to be the more caring and nurturing side of the three of us. So I would like to think that if it was in a situation of me and Rob making sweet, sweet Isaac love to you, that we would nurture to your needs and take care of you in a way beyond all, imagination, where Sean only cares about himself. So I would rate Sean at the very bottom of that and put me and Rob up top there, Isaac, because we're all about you, buddy.
Yep,
First of all,
on top.
First of all, I love how Rob was not included in this, and he's been welcomed with open arms by us. Second of all, I was really wanting to see who's going to reply first, because my response is going to be, well, Isaac, it's been a long time since we competed, but I'd say with my insomnia, I would definitely be an underdog. And then I was going to turn the question around and say, so guys, are you stomach sleepers, side sleepers, or back sleepers? But Preston, you took it all the way, buddy. Okay, moving on. John sent us a triple threat here. Number one, what is your favorite guilty pleasure song? And I'll go first, because I think when it comes to music, guilty pleasure is a funny question. I don't really believe in guilty pleasures anymore. I think it's like what you like, especially when it comes to music. So I will throw my first in. I fucking absolutely love Raining Men by the Weather Girls.
All right.
Now, that also deserves honorable mention from Work It by Missy Elliott, Tragedy by the Bee Gees, The Race Is On by Sawyer Brown, and I'll be damned if I don't roll the windows down and sing as loud as I can anytime Wannabe by the Spice Girls comes on. Rob, what do you got, buddy?
Sean, me and you have a history with one song that's a guilty pleasure of mine, and that's Lisa Loeb's Stay.
Yes, it is, and I can't believe I didn't put that on there.
I will sing that song anytime that it comes on the radio, which I don't listen to a whole lot of music to begin with. But I also love me some Call Me Maybe, and that Vanessa Carlton song 500 Miles. Also, the Proclaimers, I Would Walk 500 Miles.
Ah, yeah, another good one. Hell yeah, man. There is nothing wrong with any of those songs. It's called pop music for a reason, folks. It's catchy. Preston, what do you got, buddy?
Carlton song's 1,000 miles, isn't it?
I mean, it's all about walking,
It's a lot of miles. Either way.
So my guilty pleasure song, I have two. One of them is Rasputin by Boney M. I mean, that's just fucking catchy as shit. Like, it reminds me of like ABBA, and I just dig that song. And then the other one would be Flashlight by Parliament. You can't go wrong with Flashlight.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Like
most
70s
freaking
funk,
definitely, man.
dude, all day long.
Yeah. Yeah, I get
I
down on
need to
that.
apologize because there is some thunder going on in the background, and I don't. It looks like the audio may be picking it up, but I don't know.
That's all right, buddy. That's the joy of live TV. I learned to start wearing pants when we do live streams,
Yeah.
Rob. Haha. Also, real quick, shout out to my brother who's watching. I saw him drop in the chat there. Hey, hey, hey. Second question, follow up from John. What musical artist do you love that people might be surprised by? So, right now, I'm currently binging Run the Jewels' fourth album, Quattro. I recently discovered Danger Mouse and Black Thought's cheat codes. I've really been enjoying Going Under, which is the video game soundtrack by Aggro Crag. And again, A Hill I Will Die On. I absolutely love the first four tracks on Taylor Swift's new album, Midnights.
John's a Swiftie.
Mm-hmm. Oh, T Swizzle. Rob, what about you, buddy?
Buddy, this is a hard question for me because it's a growing concern with certain members of our group that I don't really listen to music.
Mm-hmm.
So I listen to podcasts. So I love me some Jeff Gershman and some Nextlander, and not so much Giant Bomb anymore. Because that
Aw.
podcast has gone to shit since they fired Jeff Gershman. So fuck those guys. Sorry, can we say that?
Yeah, you can say
Sad
whatever you
trombone.
want.
Hey, that's what grows your listenership even more is beef with other podcasts who are 10 times the size of you. Okay, Rob, is there any kind of like just, I don't know, again, I hate to use the word guilty pleasure, but is there just some off the wall podcast you listen to that nobody would ever expect from you?
Oh my goodness. So I love to listen to some Media Roots Radio,
Okay.
which is Abby Martin, which she's not really like it's not a big podcast, but they talk a lot about politics and they talk shit on like all kinds of politics. Like they're not like liberal or Republican, you know,
Mm-hmm.
they just tell it like it is and they'll go after both sides. And they just did a pretty good podcast on Elon Musk and his takeover of Twitter and Kanye West and how all that shit went down with the Jewish Kanye West crap.
Yeah. Oh
And
boy.
you know that was that was an interesting podcast to listen to. So if you're into that kind of stuff and you're like, oh, I hate both sides of politics. Maybe one a little bit less than the other, but still you hate both sides, which you ought to because none of them are
Mm-hmm.
fair for you.
Right,
Um,
yeah.
Listen to Media Roots Radio, and I think actually it's funny because I just seen that I don't listen to all their episodes and stuff like that. But I know there's like it's Abby Martin and her brother Robbie Martin, and
Oh, right
Robbie
on.
sometimes does not that Robbie, not that but like he does his own like he does like 90% of the podcast by himself and she's only there for like a little bit of time. But I think the last episode that he just uploaded was about Bigfoot, which I didn't listen to. But if I was like, well,
Ooh.
that's a weird one to pop up. So
Yeah. Well, I mean, you've had Bigfoot drop in the news, especially in the politics for the last couple of years. I forget the guy's name, but there was a Republican running over on the East Coast. They got in a lot of heat for writing the Bigfoot erotica, which he claimed was just a joke. And then his personal tweets came to light with him having like a 2 foot long dick. So that's fun. You had the murder that just took place in Oklahoma over the guy that supposedly killed his friend after he tried to summon Bigfoot to murder his friend. Um, and I mean, countless others. Washington State's been trying to make Bigfoot their national cryptid and make that legally official to sell merchandise. So, I mean, he's there. He's there in the politics.
and an honorable mention as well as I found on Spotify that they had a playlist of old Art Bell episodes. And so I was just curious
Oh.
and listened to like a an episode that's 25 years old. Like it came out in 1997. And
Oh,
it
you were
was
telling me about
so
that.
yeah, it was so weird because like as much as things change, some things just never do because they were talking about climate change, but it was like at the time it was like, oh, everybody knew that climate change is a real thing and that everybody should be worried about it, but the politics of it hadn't really gotten going like
Mm-hmm.
and so and eventually what changed it honestly is if Al Gore had never made that documentary about climate change, I don't think we
Mm-hmm.
would have had to divide on climate change like we did. But since it was a Democrat vice president who made this documentary, just seemed to irritate everybody, you know. And
Right.
I think that's where the divide on that stuff. But you know, I listened to stories about a guy talking about his friend had taken a picture of a plane that flew by so fast he didn't even know he had the picture of anything. And like when he described it, it sounds like a lot of these jets that we've had experimental plane had for years. And I'm like, oh man, that's kind of interesting because you know this is a 25-year-old podcast, and this is stuff that got declassified that they were working on, you know, 15, 16 years later, and like these pictures of it were being taken and stuff. It sounds like the same thing. So it's just kind of it was kind of interesting, but yeah, Art Bell's Vault is it was just it's really interesting to go back and listen to these old podcasts because I I've listened to them for years back then. So it's like taking me 25 years back because I'm 45 now. So this is what I was listening to when I was 20. You know, back when there weren't podcasts. This was
Yeah.
all on the radio, and it was just very interesting.
This was like you're on a road trip, it's 2 a.m, and all you can get is like backwoods AM radio signals, and then you just hear somebody come on and be like, well, tell me what kind of alien you saw in your kitchen when you woke up, Mrs. Peterson. Describe what it looked like. And then you're just like 10 years old going, yay.
Yeah, and
Old
what's
Art
really cool
Bell.
about Art Bell as well, I know he had some trouble later on. There was some weird stuff that happened with him after his first wife died. He
Hmm.
married like an 18-year-old girl or something like that. Some real creepy stuff for like a 60-year-old man. And
Right.
but you know, but if you listen to him on the radio, it's very interesting because he was a consummate professional, and like you could tell that he didn't believe half the shit that was people were saying, which you shouldn't believe. But the fact that he just kind of like went with it and let them tell their stories as long as
Hmm.
it didn't get boring or crude, and you know he would let them just go. You
Right.
know,
Right.
so
Man, old Art Bell, the guy who inspired all of us to take on paranormal podcasting.
Hmm.
And Preston, I'm sorry, you answered this yet or no?
No. No.
Okay, go for it. Sorry. I got
I
a chub by talking about Art Bell and just glazed
I
over.
know. Which man, Coast to Coast AM is really hard to listen to now that Art Bell, like George Norrie does a good job. I'm not going to say that I don't listen to it when I can, but there was something about Art Bell, the way that he interviewed, the sound of his voice, like that guy is a fucking classic. And that's something every generation should be forced to listen to at least once so they get to experience that.
Hmm.
So it's like the original Unsolved Mysteries. Like you got to at least go watch it once. So, but I am
No doubt.
I get on kicks where I will listen to a band and I will listen to them like months on end. And last month, I was still on the Cage the Elephant kick, and so I was just
Oh yeah.
listening Cage the Elephant nonstop on the way to work. And this month it's moved on to Queens of the Stone Age. So I'm like just hitting that pretty hard and just going through all their albums and then rocking out to that. And the Krampus says Elon's controlled opposition for sure. And he said, Rob, I'll check out that show. Thanks for the recommendation.
Yeah, I bet Scott would really dig that, man. That seems right up his alley for sure. Oh yeah. Well, Presto, what what music or people surprised you listen to other than those? Anything special you're gonna, blow me away by? A little Matchbox 20, a little Dave Matthews Band, maybe?
No to Matchbox 20 and no to Dave Matthews Band. I know that that's your thing. ABBA. I grew up with
Oh
Dad.
no shit.
Yeah, Dad. One of Dad's favorite band was ABBA and CCR. So my love of rock and roll, Creedence Clearwater Revival should not be a shock to anybody. But ABBA, Jason and mine's guilty pleasure is in fact ABBA. I can get down to some Dancing Queen.
Dude, for
Yeah.
sure. For sure.
interestingly enough, on a lot of those old Art Bell episodes, when he comes back from a break, they'll be playing Dancing Queen.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
right. I had a little like thing popped in my head of Coast to Coast, and I'm like, why am I thinking of that with ABBA? You're absolutely right.
Yep.
Fantastic. Hell yeah, man. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with some ABBA, dude, at all.
Yeah, and Neil
Cool,
Diamond.
Rob.
But
Okay.
yeah.
Hey, that's all right, dude. Neil Diamond's great, and I love me some just 80s and 90s country in general. I saw you grabbing for a visual aid, Rob. What book you reading right now, pal? Let's move on
Well,
to
I have
John's third
finished this
question.
one, but I've waited years for another one. But Dragons of the Seat, the latest Margaret Weiss and Tracy Hickman Dragonlance novel. There hasn't been a Dragonlance novel in probably around 10 years or more.
Shit, yeah.
And this is the only author, Margaret Weiss is the only author or like famous person that I've ever been in front of at her booth at Gen Con and couldn't even talk to her because I was just so like like shocked to be like it's so weird to think that this woman is a New York Times bestseller and she's at her own booth hawking her own books at the time. And it's just so weird, and I was just like, I can't say nothing. I'm just like, I don't know. Like I've met Matt Smith from Doctor Who, and and everything else. I'm just like, but Margaret Weiss, I couldn't like,
Yeah.
say a word in front of her. But like that, I have every Dragonlance novel that has been published for the series, and they're all over here on the shelf, which you can't see here. I'd have to move the whole camera. But and also I've been reading through the new Dungeons and Dragons adventure for Dragonlance. That finally they released one. What is the name of that? Something of the Shadow Queen or Dragon Queen. I don't remember now. Shadow of the Dragon Queen. I think is what it's
Shadow
called.
of the Dancing Queen.
Yeah, Shadow of the Dancing Queen. To kiss this is really mean. Okay.
Nobody gets that reference.
Somebody out there will get that reference.
I'm sure they do.
She'll
Hell
burn
yeah,
you
man.
and me, Dragon Queen.
And it's not copyright, folks, if we're singing it barbershop
Wow.
quartet style. Yeah, I don't want to get another show taken down because I may have sampled the Weather Girls. Well, Presto, what are you reading right now, buddy? You got anything that you've been perusing through?
Yeah. When I'm at work or just like on the way to work, I like to listen to audiobooks. And I'm a huge like alternative history nut when it comes to like books. So like historical events, but they're kind of like rewritten. There's one that's called Into Darkness by Harry Turtledove that basically takes the events of World War II but rewrites them into Dungeons and Dragons. So like people instead of tanks, they're riding like leviathans out of the sea, and instead of like shotguns and AK-47s, they have like wizard staffs that shoot out lightning bolts. There's one by Wilbur Smith that takes place in ancient Egypt, and I'm on that trilogy right now. So I just finished up Warlock, and I'm currently going through The Quest.
Oh, okay, man. Now, do you prefer to do audio over reading, or do you kind of mix it around a little bit of A, a little bit of B?
A little bit of A, a little bit of B. I have a whole collection of like Star Wars and Stephen King hardbacks. I prefer hardbacks. I hate paperbacks. I love the feel of a good hardback in my hand. I love the way that smell of books. Books just have this particular smell.
Oh, yeah.
I love going into like a used bookstore and the way that like the bookstore smells like, or a library, like they just have that smell to it. It kind of depends, but sometimes for convenience, I'll do audiobooks. So
yeah, Steven, Big Steven, our dearly beloved, third host, he taught me the trick of listening to audiobooks on 2 times speed as opposed to single, because I'm not saying I'm like above a 5th grade reading level, but I really hate listening to other people read to me, which is weird because I love podcasts, but I used to not be able to get more than like an hour into an audiobook before I got frustrated. And Steven's like, fuck it, just, hit 2 times speed. And now I can just get through them 110 times better because I don't got to listen to someone just fucking going so slow like Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
It's called ADHD.
What's that?
That's called ADHD.
Very well could be.
Like
Very
I
well could
can't.
be.
Although I have a problem, I can't listen to audiobooks at twice the speed because it gives me anxiety. Because I feel like if I can't keep up, my like it takes a long time sometimes for me to like my brain to process stuff.
Mhm.
So sometimes I'm like, if it goes too fast, I'm like, I can't
Right,
do it.
right. Yeah, that's true, man. There's are some stories I can do standard speed. I just listened to Stephen King's short story 1922, and I did that on standard, this whatever the generic speed was, and got through it pretty easily. But if somebody has a decent speed and a good cadence, I can normally stomach it. But
Right. I'm gonna be honest. That Dragonlance novel, I didn't actually read it. I actually audiobooked it. So
oh, okay, I thought
yeah,
you were gonna start and
I
read
bought the
it.
book because I have every other novel. But
Yes, yes,
yeah,
absolutely.
I have a problem reading anymore. I have to be doing something while I'm listening to something. It's just
Hmm. I mean, that's going to be a whole different episode altogether about just adult onset ADD or
mhm.
onset adult ADD, which is wild and just yeah, a whole other fucking talk show. But John, right now I am about 3/4 of the way through Adam Cesari's Clown in a Cornfield Part 2. And then my brother-in-law just got me a copy of Kevin Nealon. That's the Saturday Night Live actor. I exaggerate my brushes with fame, where he tells stories about all the celebrities he's met over the course of his career at SNL, and then he paints caricatures of them as well. So he's got their portrait, and then of course the story accompanying their portrait, which is pretty rad. And then I've got about, and John knows this, I've got about 40 or more paperback movie novelizations I got to start getting into as well, which kind of goes back to what you were saying, Presto, about just the smell of a book. I've got a copy of Jaws from like the late 70s, and the cover is falling apart in places. And the first thing I do when I get any of these from eBay or, from a library or wherever, I open them up. I do a quick flip to make sure there's no mold, and then I just huff those things, man, because I like the smell of a
Hmm.
nice, book. Good smell. Well, shifting gears here, Tim asks the hard hitting question. In your professional opinion, boys, who's hotter in their prime, John Stamos or Ryan Reynolds?
I
Preston,
answered
why don't you?
I answered this online and I got shot down. Tim, my reasoning behind why I think Ryan Reynolds is hotter in his prime is John Stamos has never rocked a beard. And there's just
Mm.
something about when a guy gets older and just fucking has like facial hair and rocks that man mame that you're just like, dude, this guy has got pizzazz. This guy is suave. Um, and Ryan Reynolds has the beard, dude. And John Stamos, despite the fact that, he wooed you with his song, he never once grew facial hair, just like Ryan Reynolds did. So that's my answer.
Hey, solid answer, man. Rob, what about you, man?
I gotta
Weigh
go
in
with
here.
Stamos on this with man.
John
You
Stamos.
can't bag a hot babe like Aunt Becky, even in your later years,
It's
unless
true.
you rocked it in your younger years too. And you know, uh, so many collect call ads on TV that he did for 1-800 collect or call
Yeah.
ATT. I don't remember which one he did, but and he has that perm hair, man. I don't know, like whew. In the '70s, I bet he was wait 70, yeah, something. I don't know how old he is, but I got to give it to him over Ryan Reynolds, who looks like he's too skinny, man. Too I don't know, too
Too
angular of a
lean, huh?
face.
Okay, there you go. There you go. It's a tough question, number one, Tim, but
He's not
at
really your
first,
friend, Sean.
what's
That
that?
never happened. Never happened. It was a dream. Just
Right,
remember
right.
that it's never happened.
At first, I'm inclined to go John Stamos because nobody is a bigger badass than John Stamos riding his motorcycle across the edge of like a skyscraper or wherever the heck that was, only to then get off of his oncoming doom by listening to a montage of Michelle laughing and giggling and all his kids. He also wrote a killer song called Michelle Smiling. But my friend. But I did have that ill-fated dream where I won a contest and Ryan Reynolds was my best friend for a day, only to then move to El Dorado and then hang out with all of us riding jet skis and boats at the lake, only to be woken up to be sadly mistaken that he was not really my best friend. But even though he broke my heart, I gotta say, I gotta go Team Ryan Reynolds here.
Mm-hmm. Wrong.
2 against
Well,
1.
Now, the next question that Tim wrote in is, when will there be a new release of Hot Boy Summer? Well, I don't know what that is specifically other than just, body positivity and just super hot dudes running around, just not giving a fuck. So my answer to you is this, Tim. Back in May of 2021, there was a Hot Boy Summer, and it involved me and Preston, Steven in the background trying not to laugh or throw up, and then Isaac behind a camera taking pictures for Preston and I on a couple Dude War photo series. So, Tim, you need to check your inbox because I shot you a couple of those just real scandalous photos. So, you'd never forget about hashtag Hot Boy Summer 2021. Hashtag Pixelated Paranormal.
I mean, I didn't think
Good
anybody
goods.
would ever want to know what it looks like for me to take a bath in stout. But, Tim, you now know indeed what it looks like when I bathe myself in buffalo sweat.
You
Sexually,
better
I
fucking
might
believe it.
add. I'm like, ugh. Maybe
Rob,
he's
we
born with
don't
it.
have to send you
Maybe
these.
it's buffalo sweat.
Maybe it's tall grass.
Yeah.
Rob, did you ever see those photos?
Yes, you sent them to us.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. I didn't want to leave you out here,
Yeah,
man.
yeah. I've seen more of you in a cow skull than I ever wanted to see.
I've been in a cow skull more than I ever thought I'd be. Fair to say. Well, we have an incoming question here. Shayla has interjected here. If you were a guest on Fear Factor, guys, what stunt or challenge would make you simply walk away?
All of them. I am scared of
Rob
everything.
says all of them.
I can't do heights. I can't
Okay.
eat gross stuff. Like,
Damn.
there's just no way I would do anything in that show.
Nothing at all. Rob would just walk away. I'm one step closer to victory then, buddy. Preston, what about you? What one stunt makes you just say, fuck it, I gotta leave?
So I'm definitely afraid of heights. And when you, Eric, and my buddy Tim and I did Tough Mudder, we had to climb up, 30, 40 feet up into the air after getting the shit kicked out of us, and we had to walk the plank, this very thin piece of board, and just drop to our dooms into a body of water that was ice cold that sucked the life out of you, that I almost drowned in because I just, didn't want to paddle. So as much as I'm afraid of heights, anything that they throw at me that way, I could suck it up and get over
anything
it.
with heights.
I don't like eating creepy crawly things, but
Okay.
I could suffer through it. However, if you shoved me in a glass coffin and poured fucking hairy tarantulas all over me, and I had to sit there with those monstrous motherfuckers crawling over my face, and just, I couldn't do that. I would just scream like a girl, get the fuck out and be like, I lose, I'm done. Sean's the winner. Nope, not doing it. Ugh.
He couldn't handle being in a glass coffin full of spiders either, tarantulas. Man, I'd be all about trying the nasty food. Like the one that always made me kind of get sick to the stomach is the bull penises, where they have to like eat a bull penis or like a bull testicle. But I also love mountain oysters. So I mean, if you could just deep fry them real quick, Joe Rogan, I'd probably be okay with it. But I think I'd trudge through any of them to win some sweet, sweet money. But I think when you're in that stupid glass coffin with like cockroaches, I think that's what would do me in.
The cockroaches.
I'd
not
get
the
through it, but I'd be
spiders?
mad. I think I could do the spiders, mind over matter, but I hate fucking cockroaches and bed bugs. So if you put me in a coffin full of cockroaches or bed bugs, I'd get out and straight just punch Joe Rogan right in the fucking chin.
Did you guys ever remember the old fake reality show they did like a season of called Joe Schmo?
I remember Joe Schmo. Yeah.
So, do you remember like halfway through that season, like they did a challenge where they had to eat gross things, and like
Hmm.
they brought out all these fake bugs and stuff, but they were like just like candied and stuff. But when they brought out for him, like everybody done this challenge, they all won like these big screen TVs, and
Hmm.
he was the only guy that didn't know it was a joke. So,
Yeah.
and they brought out for him, he had to eat a dog turd.
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
and everybody's like, well, go ahead and eat it. Now, it wasn't really a dog turd. It was like they said that they cooked something up that just smelled gross, but it was actually edible. It would have made you. It would probably made you sick because of the smell, but it wouldn't actually made you sick. But like he almost left the show because of that. They had to, like, it's okay, man. You don't have. They finally had to. Somebody had to, like, all the other guests were like, come on, man. You don't have to. You don't have to eat that. We don't. We don't want these TVs that bad because he was going to quit the show. And like, if he quits, he's the only
Right.
one that's not in on the joke.
Yep. Yep.
That was such a cool idea, and like they put that guy through hell. Like
Yeah, they really did. And like, what was the outcome? Like, there was no real money, or did he really win money in
he
the
got, I
end?
think he got money. If yeah, I think he actually did get money, and like,
Okay.
but he was shocked when he found out that everybody there was fake.
Yep.
But yeah,
Yeah. That was a very interesting show, and I remember thinking like they just fucked this guy over whenever they came out and said like actually there's no actual prize, there's no money, and I couldn't remember how it ended after that. But yeah, I love
yeah.
Joe Schmo, man. That was a lot of fun. That was a lot of fun. Well, Corn Dog, our good old buddy Corey, had to ask, what one paranormal thing or experience would you want to be proven real the most? What's the one thing we've talked about or you've heard about that you want them to prove? I mean, dead to rights, that really happened.
I mean,
Bigfoot.
aliens.
All right, cool. Enough said. What about aliens, Rob? What is it about aliens that really just makes you want to come true?
It's not that I want it to come true, but I want to know. Like, I want to know what it is, if it's real,
Hmm.
because there's a lot of shit out there nowadays that's definitely not real, and we'll get to that if we get to that question. But yeah, there's just sorry, my back itches. But like I want to know. I'm sure there's stuff out there. Have they visited us? Did they actually build the pyramid? I want to know the answer if they're real.
Hmm.
And what they've done and where they've been and how they've interacted with us over generations.
Yep. Yeah, I'd want to know, like, did y'all build the pyramids? you know? Hell yeah. Presto, what about you, buddy?
Bigfoot. I
Bigfoot.
I
Hell
think for
yeah.
me, like out of all the cryptids, like especially American folklore, that's the one thing that stands out for us the most, and it's so culturally significant to us. One of the first episodes of Unsolved Mysteries that I watched with Dad had to do with a girl that was home alone in her house in the woods, and Bigfoot was, fucking knocking on the door, trying to like bang in. And, Dad blew up Bigfoot in Vietnam, but we don't have any physical proof of it. There's all these eyewitness accounts,
Hmm.
like my buddy at Lodge that grew up in Arkansas almost got exploded by, a pine spear from a wood booger, but there's no physical evidence, no physical proof, and that is like, man, that's like my favorite cryptid. I just want to know that he's real. Like maybe I want to go and give him a hug. Like I want my own personal Chewbacca.
Yeah, no doubt, man. And I mean, again, R.I.P. Big John Wiener, but your dad had firsthand experience,
Yeah,
with the rock apes and all that kind of stuff. So you've got a personal connection, man. A vendetta to settle,
yeah.
dare I say.
Bigfoot, if you're listening, I promise not to blow you up like Dad did in Vietnam. I just want to be your friend. I'll hit you with a truck like Harry and the Hendersons, but I'll take good care of you after that.
Yep. Oh yeah. Well,
Out there,
Corey.
there's a Donkey Kong Jr. trying to hunt you down, Presto.
Right, right. Well, Corey, back on September 12th, 1952, Braxton County, West Virginia, some kids were out playing football and they happened to see a giant flaming ball go through the air, right? And it crashes in the woods. And so they run home and tell their mom and get a couple high school boys to go with them and a dog. And they bum rush these woods only to be met a few seconds later by a 7 to 10 foot tall creature, dark body shrouded in a cloak of heavy folded black or green metallic fabric, long gangly arms, and a face hidden inside a spade-shaped hood with a noxious fume coming out from underneath it, glowing in ethereal light. My friend, I'm talking about the Flatwoods Monster, and that's what I want to know. I want to know, was the Flatwoods Monster encounter real?
You read that like you're reading a Chuck Tingle novel.
I mean, you got me to chub
I didn't
up.
talk about the
I'm just
hardware.
I mean,
And a long
I was expecting
pulsating
to say it got fucked in the butt by its own butt, but
Chuck Tingle, old Chuck Tingle. No, I want to know what really happened with the Flatwoods Monster encounter in West Virginia. That's the one thing I just really wish I could know. One of my favorite Cryptid Encounters episodes, one of my favorite, paranormal stories. I gotta know. Did it happen or didn't it? Okay, from Rob Bones, who sent us a cornucopia here. Does anyone have any personal experience with the occult or with a Ouija board? Rob, what about you, buddy? From one Rob to another.
I've actually done a Ouija board before, a lot of times. It's really weird because every time I've done a Ouija board, it's almost like the same thing happens. Like you have your fingers there on it, and nothing will happen. But it's almost like somebody has to just kind of touch it to get it going. To me, like every time I've ever done it, I would just barely touch it, and it would just go. And after that point, it was almost like it started working. Like, granted, I've done it with different people. It wasn't just me. I was never controlling it the whole time, but it was very odd. It's an odd sensation because I don't know what's making it go. I don't know. And anytime I did it with a girl I was dating one time, and we were with another friend, and my other friend was trying to find a long lost girl that he had dated, and we asked the Ouija board, and so he said, well, can you give us a phone number for this girl? And so it gave us a phone number, and it was really odd, right? But when we went so the girl I was dating, she got up and she went over to the phone and called it, and it was to a church. And at 9:00 at night, but it was and we're like, ah ha ha ha, you got us, demons, ghosts.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I've dealt with them before. I don't do it anymore. It doesn't scare me or anything, but nothing good would probably come out of it. I don't know. Yeah.
I don't know that I ever knew you dealt with it, man. I know that you had done some tarot and stuff like that, but I guess I didn't know you ever dabbled in the Ouija.
Yeah, I did a Ouija board. I did it several times over the years. We owned a Ouija board a long time ago. So,
damn.
And my mom also, she was into the Ouija boards and stuff when she was a kid. When she was a teenager too. That they said that they were out doing a seance with her and 3 of her friends in the neighborhood, and they called for spirits. And about that time, somebody's dog had broken loose from his chain, and the chain was running down the street, and they just
oh my god,
they freaked out.
Oh, that's too good, man. Man, I wish your mom would have told us that last time we were there, because I know Steven kept asking her, hey Deb, what kind of stuff did you do when you used to party? And she's like, oh, Debbie don't party. And he's like, okay, did you ever just a little bit? And she's like, Debbie don't do drugs. She should have followed up with Debbie fucks with a Ouija board.
Well, you'll never get those stories again from her properly, so.
Hey, that's all right, man. Just knowing a taste of it, that's good stuff. Well, Bonesy, my friend, the only time I've ever been involved with a Ouija board was surprisingly with you and Preston and Big Dobbs. We were at the Museum of Shadows, April 12th, 2019. I believe Micah was there as well. The closest I've ever gotten to using a Ouija board was the selfie that we took in front of a giant wall of Ouija boards. But when you talk about the occult, again, same story, same night, and I'll kind of paraphrase it because we talked about it and featured it on the show. But doing that demon room sit challenge in, I don't know, the worst sit challenge room they had, experiencing that with like all the occult artifacts that were on the table and like all the artifacts that were supposedly linked to like Beelzebub and Baal and all these people, Baphomet. Being in that room and experiencing what I experienced in there, and then hearing what they claim to be hooves running across the floor, I think it sounded like somebody threw a pill bottle. That's the closest I've come to the occult. But to kind of wrap it all up and link it together, after coming home from that trip, it was a great trip, had a blast. The beard competition was fun. I was pretty obsessed with Ouija boards for a hot second, to the point where like I was looking on Marketplace to buy them and then basically talking myself out of it because the couple people I talked to that had them, they hadn't opened them, and I kind of wanted something with a little bit of mileage on it. And for somebody who's like, I wouldn't touch it, let alone stand in a fucking pentagram, right? But that's how this whole thing started, is stepping in pentagrams inside the Museum of Shadow. Anyway, being somebody who wouldn't dare mess with a Ouija board, going to somebody who's like feverishly like just Googling and looking on Facebook Marketplace for Ouija boards, something bizarre happened. I'll leave it at that. But I was basically on a hunt for at least a planchette that had been used. But luckily, I think for me, I never got lucky. So, and then between us, Rob is a man who makes Ouija boards. Preston, tell
Yeah.
us about your experience.
Well, I'd like to point out that my wife got me a planchette Christmas ornament that I have hanging up in the office while I
That's awesome.
record. That says "Summoning the Holiday Spirit" because I need all the help that I can get. I've used
Does
Ouija
say
boards
that.
a couple times and never really got anything to where I thought like, hey, this is legitimate. Like this is a tool to use in paranormal research. But on the flip side, my mother-in-law, she is Wiccan, and Jeffrey and her brother can sit there and tell you stories on days after days about my mother-in-law summoning Pan, doing certain spells that worked. And I took place in a group seance that really felt more like a magic show than anything else. So it's something I would like more. I would like to do more group seances. I saw the Long Island Medium live, and
Yes,
that
you
was
did.
yeah, and that was an odd experience because like some of it felt like she was like really fishing because she would like, oh, I feel somebody's coming forward. Somebody that was they like to drive four wheelers, and somebody would be like, my husband drove a four wheeler. No, sit down. It's not you. It's somebody back there, and she would just like keep egging on to where finally somebody's like, I don't know, maybe me. So I don't know. Group seances, I would like to dive more into it to get a better feel of it. I'd like to, besides make Ouija boards and planchettes, like actually get to using them. Jeffrey's mom taught her how to read tarot, so we have
Oh,
several
interesting.
tarot card collections upstairs. Um,
Uh-huh.
so I mean, I've dabbled in the occult. I've tipped the very edge of my fingertip in it, so to speak. I don't know how I feel about it though. So
Yeah, I forgot that Jeffrey's kind of, intertwined in that whole practice as well in a way. So,
yeah.
hell yeah. I'd be down for a seance. I think I would dip my toe in seance more than a Ouija board, but your Christmas decoration, your Christmas ornament reminded me, Shayla did buy me a planchette. It's really
Ooh.
fun. It's really cool. If I ever get lost, I can take it in the forest and probably start a fire if I needed to, with the size of this crystal. But yeah, she did get me one. So I forgot the epilogue to that tale is she bought me a planchette off of Etsy.
Well,
So
here's the thing: the one that Sean or that Preston got made there, or
Mhm.
Jeffrey got him. I'm pretty sure she just took his balls and drew lines around them on a piece of paper, and then cut that out, and then had that printed off. You
It
know.
was pretty small, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
There it
That's
is. Kickstand jokes.
that is the angle to dangle. I'm not gonna lie.
All right. Wait a second. All we doing is just pushing balls around a board game?
They were going to use trucker nuts, but we couldn't find any. We weren't classy enough for that.
Speaking of truck nuts, I saw a dude the other day driving down the street that had fucking bowling balls that he drilled all the way through and had a chain all the way around hanging out from the back of his truck. And I was equal parts impressed and terrified at the same time because God forbid you follow that guy down the highway, one of those fucking bust loose, man. Fuck. Well, we're about halfway through. You guys doing good on time? Everybody doing all right?
Yeah.
Sweet. All right, cool. Well, we're going to jump into the next question from Rob Bones. Something I am embarrassed to say I don't know much about, but maybe you boys do. What are your thoughts on the left-hand path? Anybody know what that is off the top?
Dark magic, right?
Yeah.
I think so. I think that's exactly what it has to do with. I actually had a note here where the Wikipedia page was. Well, duh, it's actually the link I put in the doc. So look at that. Again, live television. Live television. So in Western esotericism, the left-hand path and the right-hand path are the dichotomy between two opposing approaches to magic. Terminology is used in various groups involving the occult and ceremonial magic. In some definitions, the left-hand path is equated to malicious black magic or black shamanism, while the right-hand path is equated with benevolent white magic. Any of you guys ever dip your toes in a little magic?
No, that I've never done.
Yeah. So, I mean, have you ever been really interested in getting, into it? What's the farthest you've read on it?
Honestly, done much reading on those types of magic. I've learned a lot, not a lot over the years. I've read a little bit about Aleister Crowley.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I know his was sex magic. I'm sure it's probably the left-handed path. Maybe it's not.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that is sex magic and stuff like that is a whole other thing than the left-handed path. But I haven't really dabbled into much of that. The only time I really learned a lot about that magic was a role-playing game called Conspiracy X, and it was kind of like the X-Files, and like one of the classes that you could play was a magician, but it wasn't like a mage like a D&D. It was like an actual magic user who would use that type of magic. So.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Okay. Presto, you ever dipped your toes in the old magic sack?
No. Oh man, that's a tough one because I feel like every society. So in Chinese mythology, it's the yin and the yang. You have to have balance. So you have the black side and the white side, and when they combine, so with everything, even like some Wiccan practices, you do have to go down the left-hand side, so to speak, because you have to have a balance.
Mm-hmm.
But going down that left-hand side to have that balance, it's very give or take. So karma, so to speak. So if you do something that's negative, to gain whatever power it is, even if you try to balance that out, karma's a bitch. And past lives, I probably already racked up enough bad karma. I don't need to do left-hand magic, and that's why they call the left hand the dirty hand. Anyways, it's sinister.
Yeah,
it's sinful. Yeah. So maybe don't fucking dabble in that.
Yeah. So I sent a few of my Dude photos to my buddy Tim, and then he just commented, "I'll give those cheeks a left-hand pat." Oh man, good stuff. Well, Rob, a topic I really want to get into on the show this year is the occult, Aleister Crowley, because you got so much really interesting stuff there with Loch Ness Monster and sex magic. We have talked a little bit about David Bowie back when he was on his, milk, cocaine, and red pepper phase, summoning a demon in his pool. I really want to do a nice deep dive into Led Zeppelin and the use of occult magic in all of their albums. That whole story just fascinates the shit out of me to no end. So, again, we don't really know much about it, but buddy, we'll get back to you on that because I definitely want to read a little bit more about it. So, well, quickly here, Rob, I know you're not a big horror movie fan, but question three, top three horror movies of 2022. Any comment? Any horror movies you watched?
Didn't watch anything in 2022 that horror. I'm not a horror movie fan.
Fair. One movie that you and I do both agree is pretty awesome was Horse Girl. Not
Yeah,
from
that was
2022.
2022.
No, that was a couple years back, but yeah, Horse
I don't
Girl's
really
fucking
consider
awesome.
that a horror movie.
No, sci-fi, science fiction, I think, is pretty solid. But Rob, I really dug A Wounded Fawn on Shudder. I thought it was fucking awesome. Black Phone, I think, was a solid modern horror movie to not have to rely on gore and monsters. I think it was fucking awesome. A killer score as well. And then Terrifier 2, not because it was a super great story, but instead because Damien Leone is a fucking madman for putting that much batshit bonkers gore into a movie. And also because David Howard Thornton plays Art the Clown all too well. He's one of my favorite horror movie monsters now. A fucking slasher monster who can't talk, who just pantomimes everything, is diabolical in the very best way.
Oh,
And also honorable mention. What,
that's
Rob?
one thing there was one horror movie I watched this year.
Okay.
Barbarian.
Oh, shit. Okay. What did you
And
think of
that was a
Barbarian?
really first half of a movie that was pretty good, and then they ruined it by making it exactly what you think it is.
Yeah, I would have to say I agree. The first half was fun. I dug the last half, but I definitely understand. I turned my brain off and just enjoyed the ride
Well,
for the second half.
not to
But
spoil it, but that genre of movie I just hate. And I
okay,
could
fair. Yeah.
once it was telegraphed that that's what it was like, man, come on, this is like such an old
Yeah.
trope, and it's just a terrible one.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair to say. Preston, what about you, man? Did you watch Barbarian yet?
I've not. The only horror movie that I watched this year was the Yule log on Adult Swim.
Fucking awesome.
Yeah,
So good.
I dug it after Christmas Day. After we took Addie to go see what is it? Frightful Night, Terrible Night,
Violent Night.
Violent Night. We got home. We were like, let's watch another Christmas horror movie. I'm like, all right, gang, let's put on the old Yule log. And about 10 minutes into it, my daughter turned around and looked at me with that like what the fuck look on her face, and then the wife was like, I don't think we should watch this. And I'm like, all right, well, let's watch Gremlins, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, dude, Yule Log is such a fun movie. I won't spoil it, but if anybody's ever watched one of those screensaver fireplaces before, Adult Swim, Cartoon Network did the same thing, but quickly took advantage of people's unsuspecting viewership and made something incredibly, again, bonkers and batshit crazy, and I loved it. So,
Yep.
hell yeah. Honorable mention, the new Hellraiser is fucking awesome. I loved it. I don't care what anybody
yeah,
says.
yeah. I
loved
forgot
it.
about that. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Last one about music here, real quick, guys. Rob, any albums that changed your life forever, and any reasons why? Before we get to the paranormal stuff.
Like I said, I'm not a big music guy, so
Quite all right, buddy. Quite all right. Preston, what about you, man? What's an album that changed your life, buddy?
The one album that I can always go back to that reminds me of childhood, the summer of my 7th grade year, I discovered the album Purple by Stone Temple Pilots. I can listen to every song on that album front to back. Scott Weiland is one of my musical heroes. I will put him up there with David Bowie. And again, fucking put on the boxing gloves and fight you for it. I think he is a lyrical genius. So for me, I think one of the albums that have always stuck with me throughout the years would be Purple by Stone Temple Pilots.
Fuck yeah, man.
I guess I was thinking about music from now, but there were definitely albums that I remember listening to a lot. The Crow soundtrack back when I was in high school.
Oh yeah.
Can't Rain All the Time, bomb song.
Yeah.
And then one summer we wore out the Reality Bites soundtrack with
Mm-hmm.
Lisa Loeb's Stay at
Fuck
My
yeah.
Sharona.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Man, that was like a summer where we listened to that album over and over and over when me and Ben and Kristen would be all driving around and stuff like that. So yeah.
Yeah. That's actually a really good point, man. Soundtracks to movies from the 80s and 90s, again, every generation says their music was the best. I think that's true for every generation, but fucking 80s and 90s music, especially like alt rock and stuff like that, was fucking awesome. And then movies during that time were just so good because they really encapsulated the music at that moment, either what was out right then or up to that movie coming out. But I mean, the Crow soundtrack alone had so much fucking crazy, really good music on it. Original stuff. The Big Empty by Stone Temple Pilots, Slip Slide Melting by Love Not Lisa, Burn by The Cure. Tons of really good music. It's funny, Rob. I've been looking at maybe buying that, so I knew a little bit about that. But yeah, that's a fucking awesome album. Movie soundtracks were great. Um, my inclination was going to go to a surprising album from left field for me, Bone Thugs and Harmony, East 99 Eternal, because I would know the grass listening to that, or DMX, It's Dark and Hell is Hot, because it's the angsty shit I listened to, in seventh and eighth grade mowing the grass. But I got to go with a modern album, Amigo the Devil, 2018 album, Everything is Fine. It's more recent. I just came into it a couple years ago, but it's a solid anthem for dealing with depression, especially from the song Stronger Than Dead, and also dealing with knowing that you have a real black, morbid sense of humor. He has a song called Everyone Gets Left Behind, and it's really about not being so serious, and also like the world's a fucking shithole, and people are out there doing their best. Meanwhile, like other people in power are just really fucking things up. But beyond the album, I just really love Amigo the Devil, plain and simple. He's a dude who knows how to write songs about what it's like to be so and people who don't fit in. And if you get the chance, I would highly suggest seeing the guy live because he's fucking awesome. But
Sean Scott says Pray for the Devil was actually pretty good for a horror movie this year. And your buddy Tim says,
oh,
damn, you go hard, Sean. You go hard.
and well, let's kind of move over to the paranormal here. Rachel asks if you were to have one of two experiences, like A, alien slash UFO encounter, nothing negative though, abduction probing, none of that kind of stuff, but a positive one where you're able to interact with aliens, learn about them, get an understanding before they disappear. Or B, a cryptid encounter. You meet up with like Bigfoot or Mothman or any cryptid of your choosing, and also in a positive light, learning, interacting, and so on. What would you choose and why would you choose it? Rob?
Oh, mine would definitely be the aliens.
Yeah.
The reason why is like if they figured out how to get here and stuff, there's so many problems that they've already solved. And if it's a
Mm-hmm.
positive situation, maybe they would be able to cure my diabetes. Maybe they'll cure my eye problems. Maybe get stuff like that taken care of, so that way,
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to rely on medical care for stuff that's never going to get better for the rest of my life. Stuff like that. So
Yeah.
yeah,
At
definitely
least not medical care in the U.S. Am I right, boys? Or am
yeah.
I... Get some of that sweet, sweet New Zealand medicine. Yeah, that's a good point. But then the counterpoint would be, what if we are the aliens, Rob, and they're coming back because they are us and they just fucked themselves into a corner?
Well, then that wouldn't be a positive experience.
Ah, touche.
Hmm.
Touche. Hell yeah, man. If I was able to do one or the other, oh man, my selfie light just went out. Oopsie nuggets. I've gone
Uh-oh.
dark, boys. Um, Man, I would want to meet Bigfoot. Bigfoot, and of course that encapsulates all those cryptids, Bigfoot, Yeti, everything, because this creature spans from the Himalayas to, all the way in Asia and everywhere else. I'd like to know what they are, why they are, if they're blood and guts, flesh and blood, if they are extra dimensional. I just want to know, what they are and how they've been getting along for so long, never truly being caught. If they're really truly fallen angels from, God casting down Lucifer and all the fallen angels, if they're actually part of the Hilderfolk, the hidden people, all that kind of stuff. I want to know what's going on with Bigfoot. And that's my answer. Preston.
I'm going to roll with Rob on this, and I would go alien. I don't know if you remember. I mean, the listeners remember it because everybody bitched about your fucking sound effects on the Golden Planet. Our French guy,
Yeah,
our
they did.
buddy Michel, that got abducted by the aliens from Planet X, and Thiuba,
Mhm.
and he went on an intergalactical journey, and then got to see a planet that had nuclear warfare with like giant fallout, 76 ants and all these people running around that had like pus pockets on their head from like radiation. So I
Mhm.
think if I wasn't getting anal probed and I knew that this was going to be a safe journey, a safe place to get on their spaceship and be able to go on a little adventure real quick across the galaxy and see other worlds and learn a thing or two about a thing or two, I would definitely go aliens.
Fuck yeah. Well, the next hard-hitting question, folks. My selfie light died just in time, so I can't really. Maybe I can. Hold on. Holly asks, "What's the most awesome pair of socks that you own?" Anybody bring visual aids? Was I the only one? Holly,
Free.
first of all, I've got a badass pair of Undertaker socks that Shayla just got me. I love them. I will probably wear them until holes are in them. Wash them every day. ET socks. Let's see if you can get a better picture of that. That's ET and Elliot flying across the moon. Um, Anybody else have the Shining carpet socks? Might be the only one. And my pride and joy, I've had these for about 5 years. That's Bigfoot walking with a mug of beer. I love socks. I'm a sock nut. And Shayla never disappoints in getting me really badass socks. So, Rob, what's your favorite pair, buddy?
So I have 3 pairs of socks that my wife got me for Valentine's Day last year, and they're all pictures of her.
Oh,
And
awesome.
they've got like one of them that says like it's me and her together on them. It says two peas in a pod. Another one says always with you, and it's just her. And there was a third pair, and I can't remember what they are. And they're just pictures and stuff like designs printed on them, and they're upstairs. Or back in my old studio, I could just run in there and grab them real quick. But now I have to go upstairs and run all the way down the hallway. And house is way bigger than the trailer I used to live in. So
Yeah, yeah.
um,
That's fucking awesome. Preston, what do you got, man? You get some new socks for Christmas?
I did. The wife got me a pair of Krampus socks for Christmas that I rocked, and then a couple of years ago, before my associate retired, she got me a pair of socks that I could wear on our conference calls on Wednesday, and they were black and white, and the top part of the sock had a nun on it, and right above that it says "fucks I give," and then because of the nun, and the nun was giving everybody the finger. So I always enjoyed those. So if you're listening, D, thank you. I still wear those socks on occasion because I have to remind myself the fucks I give are none.
Oh, that's awesome, man. Yeah, shout out to Dee and all of Canada.
Yeah.
She's one of my favorite people, most definitely. Well, we got two more questions, guys. The first one, I think we all know the answer to. Deborah and Jeremy from Global Strangeness have to ask, what's the best beard oil on the market? Perfect time for a plug. Preston.
Well, gang, if you need a beard, if you want a beard, if you want to grow the best beard that you can grow, maybe you're on an intergalactical journey where you're not getting anal probed and you want that man mane to shine, the best thing to use on your face is Big Dob's Beard Balm and Big Dob's Beard Oil. I prefer scents like Bay Rum, Classic, and today I have mint in, and I love the smell of mint. And you can do yourself a favor, a big solid, and go over to the website, bigdobsbeardbalm.com, and use promo code PXLPARA for 20% off your order. Because believe me, folks, I've used a ton of shit on my face, and nothing smells as good or feels as good as Dobbs.
Fuck yeah. There you go, guys. I think we all knew the answer to that question.
Yeah.
So, our final question comes from Scott from Global Strangeness, and he says, for my question, though, as the skeptic of our show, I want to know which is the most unbelievable cryptid, paranormal, or extraterrestrial theory out there that each of you think can't be taken seriously and why. He knows it can be controversial to some viewers, but let the truth ride. What do you got, Press?
First off,
Sorry, Rob, what?
fuck flat earthers. That is the
Fair.
dumbest shit I've ever seen in my life. Also, orbs, rods, fuck that stupid shit up its ass, because that's just dumb. It's insects. Just stop.
And dust balls. Yep.
Dust balls and insects flying by. That's all that garbage is. Quit going like, did you see what I see? Look at this video. Dude, no. Just stop. Take it with your flat earth and go hurl yourself out into the galaxy like a frisbee on your little flat earth theories and shut the fuck up.
Rob, I missed you so much. I love Truthful Rob so much. Okay, Preston, what do you think, man? Cryptid, paranormal, or extraterrestrial theory?
So I'm going to have to roll with, which is not going to be any surprise to anybody who listens to the show. I fucking hate the Loch Ness Monster. I think it's the fucking dumbest cryptid ever. And, you know, when that article came out earlier this year that said that the Loch Ness Monster was either A, whale penis, or B, a specific type of turtle that had a longer neck that doesn't live in its shell, I was like, fuck yeah, science. Normally I don't go along with you, but this one I'm going to have to go along with. The idea that it's a brontosaurus, brachiosaurus, or a plesiosaur. I was reading this paper, and he claims to be a scientist. I mean, that's yet to be seen, but I agree with him, so I'm going to go with this scientist. He had proposed the question of what is the biggest lie today that modern day science has told us, and it's dinosaurs, right? If you think about dinosaurs, they are the biggest lie that science has told us today. So I'm just like, oh my God, this is one of these fuckers that are like, the dinosaurs aren't real because the Earth has only been around 4,000 years and blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, I can't handle this. But I endured and I read on. And he goes on to say it's not that dinosaurs are fake because we have the bones to prove it. What is fake about dinosaurs is based off science's understanding of Earth and gravity. Our modern day understanding of Earth and gravity is that the gravity of the Earth has been a constant. The gravity of the Earth has never changed. And based off that, if the gravity of the Earth has never changed and it's been what it is, 10 million years ago to what it is right now, then dinosaurs are in fact a lie, because something that big like a brontosaurus or a brachiosaurus or a tyrannosaurus rex, they could not pump blood from their heart to the lungs to the brains. They wouldn't be able to walk. They wouldn't be able to stand. Gravity would have to be completely different for those animals to survive. Based off that, if you think about that for a second, the fucking Loch Ness Monster could not be a dinosaur that has survived from prehistoric times, because it would not be able to survive in the modern day gravity that Earth currently experiences. So therefore, if the Loch Ness Monster is an actual cryptid, it has to be because Aleister Crowley fucked a kid in the pyramids and brought about the plague. Which
I didn't see that coming.
Which is a story, which I don't know if you actually don't want to dive into that, but there is a couple
Not
stories
tonight.
about how Aleister Crowley had a young Egyptian sex slave that he did some nasty stuff with in the pyramids, and in fact summoned the Loch Ness Monster. But if you want to believe that it is a flesh and blood creature, yeah, Chuck Tingle. If you want to believe it's a flesh and blood creature like an actual dinosaur, it could not survive in this modern day world based off gravity and everything else. That's it. That's where I'm at.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
I thought Rob was heated about the flat Earth, but Preston just took the fucking gloves off
Yeah.
and pissed in the face of the lock.
Yeah.
Wowee. Impressive. Well, I don't know really how exactly to follow that up, except for I think I just might. So I hate to say it, but the one thing, theory, cryptid, paranormal story that I just can't take serious is going to be Whitley Strieber's Communion. And I will first say that the book is phenomenal. The movie's fucking fantastic, even if it kind of falls off the rails. Christopher Walken does a great job. But Communion is one of those stories where, like, I read the first book of the series. Admittedly, that's the only one I've read of the series. I think Communion's fantastic. I think the story could be credible. But the problem I have is Whitley Strieber is also an author who wrote several books, including The Hunger, which got it made into a film that has David Bowie in it. I haven't watched it yet. The Last Vampire, Lilith's Dream, and several others. So the dude's already an author. And then he gets abducted by aliens. That can clearly happen. I want to believe that part is true. But he drops the book Communion. It takes off like a wildfire. It wakes up all these, memories and regressions in people of like, oh my God, that thing on the cover of your book, I saw that as well. That's phenomenal. I think that's great. But then after a little while, the dust settles and he writes Transformation, The Breakthrough. I haven't read it yet. And then you have Breakthrough, The Next Step. And then you have Secret School, Preparation for Contact. Then you have Confirmation, The Hard Evidence of Aliens Among Us. Then Solving the Communion Enigma, and so on and so on and so on. And it's like, I feel like it's a story somebody really experienced, and then they just kept fucking yes-anding themselves until I just can't take it serious anymore. I want to believe Communion's real. I don't know what to think about the events that took place afterwards. Hard for me to say. Hate to be a dick. Hate to be somebody who has a paranormal podcast who also just poo-pooed in front of, on top of one of the most famous paranormal stories to ever be recorded. But I got a bit of a hard time believing all that shit's true.
I've never believed Whitney Strieber's shit.
At all?
Never.
I mean, again, the only real problem I have, to summarize it, is you've got a really great account that somebody wrote who's also a fucking author, who's written books about werewolves and vampires and everything else. That's the bugaboo I have, is the dude's a writer who delves into science fiction. Did it happen? Didn't it happen? Has he convinced himself it happened? I don't know. That being said, we're going to cover the story this year, but still, yeah, that's the one, Scott, that I have a real hard time with, is just going to be Old Communion. So,
what about Eric von Däniken?
Who was his daddy and what did he do?
Däniken was the guy that wrote Chariots of the Gods, and right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what perpetuated the ancient astronaut theory and ancient aliens on the History Channel. Like, if you read his first two books, the research is pretty solid. Like, I could buy into it. And then right around 2012, he wrote another book and was just like, well, based off the Mayan calendars and everything else that I've researched, 2012 is going to be the year that the Anunnaki gods come down in a spaceship on this, this site, on this pyramid at this time, at this date. And then he just milked the shit out of it. Like, dude, your first two books, pretty solid. You got me hook, line, and sinker. And then he just kept going and milking it. And I'm just like, now you're in batshit crazy territory. And I don't know if I want to believe the other shit that I used to believe, because you're fucking off your rocker right now. And then guess what? 2012 happened, and I didn't see any Anunnakis land on a pyramid and take us all the way to, fucking Heaven's Gate or wherever the fuck he was saying in this book. And then, they still have him on Ancient Aliens. They're like, he's the dude. He's the dude.
Sure, he's dead now.
Is he? Oh,
I think he passed away a few years ago.
I feel kind of bad.
R.I.P.
Yeah.
Yeah, you fucking dick.
Yeah. Whoops.
Let me look that
Man. Well, that concludes the list of questions for this year's Q&A. We just want to say a huge thank you to everybody who wrote in. If you didn't get a chance to write in yet and you hear this and think, shit,
No, I guess he's
send
still
them.
alive.
Is he?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I don't feel
Good
like a
for
dick
him.
then. Yeah.
I still think you are. If you haven't had a chance to write your question in, please do. We'd be happy to answer these questions at least, just throughout the next few episodes. We can, sorry about my lighting as well. My light went out, and so now I'm going off of the screen on my phone. If you have questions you want to send in, please do. We can answer those, at the end of each episode or at the beginning or what have you. But I know there's people who wrote in. Jesus, this is the great part too of editing. Nobody hears all these flubs, but again, YouTube gets to see them. You have questions, send them in. That's the
moral of the story. Yeah. Hook, line, and sinker.
You got it.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. And before we finish things out, I want to give a shout out to my mom who made me this badass Pixelated Paranormal pillow for Christmas.
Oh.
A what?
Yeah, so if you
Pillow?
see back here behind me, that is a plush Mars Attacks Martian. Behind it is a pillow with our logo on it that she made me.
A pillow.
A pillow, Rob. Yeah, a throw pillow. So anyway, I want to also say a fucking gigantic thank you to Rob. Buddy, you probably know how much we missed you, but I'm so happy you joined us. This has been fucking awesome.
It feels like old times. I mean, the vibes were great. The juices were flowing. I felt it.
And I can finally ask you on the air, have we made you proud, Daddy? Do you love us now?
You guys have done very well taking the reins and keeping it going for longer than I really thought that would go on for sure. Like, you guys got to remember, a lot of podcasts never make it past, like, the first 6 months. And you guys have been going on for how many years now?
6.5.
Yeah, that's a long time for something that we basically just started when we talked about on Xbox, and something that I pretty much abandoned within, first 6 months?
That's all right, buddy. That's all right. You got it off the ground, and that's all we needed was someone just to lift us off.
I think that was the whole point. I think that was the whole thing I expected to do, was get it off the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And then, after 10 years of podcasting, I just was like, you know what? I don't want to talk anymore.
Yeah. And just remember, Rob,
I think that's our problem.
If it weren't for you, this show would have been called Tulpas and Toe Shoes, which is not as catchy as Pixelated Paranormal. So,
and I don't think I can talk about toe shoes more than about 6 months. So you did us a favor. Well, thanks again, buddy, for joining us. Hopefully, you will continue to do it off and on more frequently? ?
Get too ahead of ourselves. I can have fun doing it occasionally,
but at least can we say like once every 4 months, once every 5 months?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can't really. You never know where I'm going to be in 6 months, So
That's fair. That's fair. Well, we are super thrilled that you joined us for this one, man. It's been a long time. My screen just went out. Hold on, guys. I swear I'm a professional. It's been probably 2 years since the last time you got on here with us. It's been a while.
House for 2 years, and so it's definitely been long. Or 2 years and like 3 months now. So it's definitely been longer than that, because I've never podcast from this house.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah. Okay.
So I don't remember. I was trying to think of that today earlier. I was like, when is the last time I actually podcasted anything? So
it's been a while, but you're welcome back anytime. I've got a story about Kentucky I'm going to share in the next few episodes. I'll drop that on you after we're off of here to see if you want to join us for that. And I got to mention too, man, I am surprised that you didn't mention the Kentucky Goblins, the Kelly Hopkinsville story, as something you want to know the truth behind.
It's aliens. I mean,
yeah, true.
I kind of just blanket statement, but yeah.
Fair. Not a cop out at all.
And the thing is, there's probably people that listen and don't even know who I am. And
if they're diehard fans like our buddy Matt, there's a lot of people who found us recently who have done the gamut of episode Some of them 0 if they listen to the old feed. I didn't put 0 up on the new feed, but I mean, you've got some long haulers here, man. Some people who have really just taken the fucking dive. And so I think a lot of people do know who you are, buddy.
He's like,
He
well,
says,
I'm
humbly.
getting serious again about this. If I got fans that have been with me this long.
No.
Maybe I'll dust off the podcasting shoes I used to wear.
Yeah. They're not toe
Well, let's wrap it
shoes,
up.
but they're podcasting shoes.
Yeah. Yep. I like to think they're wingtips. Well, let's wrap it up, boys. Anything to add before we see our way out?
Nope. I've already done the Big Dobbs Beard Bomb. If I didn't mention it, promo code PXLPARA for 20% off your order. Bay rum, fresh, citrus, mint, classic, sweet tobacco's another good one. So do yourself a favor. If you're looking to put something on your face that's just going to make it look amazing, feel amazing, and smell amazing, you need Dobbs. So Big Dobbs Beard Bomb. Use the promo code. Thank us later.
There you go. Also, if you guys have your own listener stories, we would love to hear them. Please send them to pixelatedparanormal@gmail.com. You can also send those to us via Messenger through the Jesus, if I could talk, Daddy might have been drinking. Send them to us via DM on the podcast page, on the Instagram page. You can also send them to us personally. If you know us personally, you can stay anonymous. We can share your name. You can say, hey, say my first name. We don't care. We just want to hear what you have to say. We'd love to share it. 2023 is just begging for another listener story episode, so let's get on it. You can also send us a voicemail to our Google Voice, not G Voice. What an idiot. Our Google Voice number, 913-662-3144. Fantastic. If you're on Instagram, PXL Paranormal. If you are on Facebook, we are the Pixelated Paranormal Podcast. Preston, of course, man, you're at the helm of the ship. YouTube, buddy, how we doing?
227 subscribers. Oh, this will be the 151th episode that I've uploaded, the fourth live episode. So if you're watching us live, you like what you see, hit that like and subscribe button, share us to all your friends. We have a long way to go to get to 1,000 subscribers. Do us a solid. Help us out. If my mother watches...
like Jack Black said.
Yeah. If my mother watches YouTube, your mother watches
top.
YouTube, and Sean's mother probably needs to start watching YouTube. So, Sean, you should tell your mom to like, subscribe, and to share to the Pixelated Paranormal Podcast YouTube channel.
I might do that. I just might do that. Tell your moms to follow us, like, and subscribe. Phenomenal. And that's the one thing I hate is talking over each other. I was going to make a joke about Jack Black saying it's a long ways to the top if you want to rock and roll, but it died. The momentum is gone. I think the joke is dead in the water. Cool. All right. And if you're in the Wichita area, please stop by, see our dear friend Leslie and the rest of the gang at CD Trade Post, Pawnee, and Seneca. And on that, Rob, anything you want to say before you head out, buddy?
No.
A man of few words. All right. On behalf of Big Steven, cheers to the weird shit in the world and those of us that love to talk about it.
And stay spooky and stay on the paranormal highway. And I'll be like Big Steven real quick and ad-lib. We'll see if Sean can be a big boy and professional and not talk while I play the outro.
I feel seen and hurt.
Oh. Bye-bye.
The cast at Pixelated Paranormal would like to thank you for listening to this week's episode. Pixelated Paranormal is here to tell you tales of the fantastical, the strange, the unknown. Tales that will move you a little further down the paranormal highway. If you'd like to share your own listener story, we would love to hear it. Email us at pixelatedparanormal@gmail.com. Again, that's pixelatedparanormal@gmail.com. We'd really love to hear from you. Again, thanks for listening to this week's episode of Pixelated Paranormal, your guide to the unusual and the strange.